Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Very good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Ram Govind Singh, scientist from Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. Today, I'm going to talk about cyber threats in the dark web. In this talk, I will cover about what is the concept of darknet, what is the concept of dark web, and what is the structure of this darknet, how it work, what is the concept behind anonymous services. We will discuss why there is a rise in the cybersecurity threat, which is originating from the dark web, and how it can impact our businesses. In the last, I will talk about what are the set of preventive measures that can be followed in order to prevent cyber attacks which are originated from the dark web. So before going to start, let us first try to understand what is the difference between surface web, deep web, and dark web. As we know that in over the internet, there are many search engines like Google, like Yahoo. Those are continuously crawling, those are continuously indexing our data. So there are a lot of data which are visible over the internet. So all those data which can be indexed, which can be crawled, which can be searched by any search engine, those data is considered as a surface web, like our Wikipedia content, our Google contents, our Facebook contents, our Twitter contents. So all these data are publicly available, uh, and these are considered as a surface web. Apart from all these data, there are a lot of content which are hidden. For example, our medical records, our government resources, our legal documents, financial records, all these data are hidden from the internet and somewhere exist in the deep. So these data cannot be searched by any search engines. So these data is considered as a deep web, and it is estimated that the size of such data is uh, much higher than the data which exists over the surface web. So these data is considered as a deep web, and out of all these deep web data, one subset is considered as a dark web. So in a very layman term, dark web is a collection of onion websites. So let us discuss about what is the dark net and what is the dark web and how it can impact to us. So uh, so the entire concept is based upon the two terms. One is called as privacy and another is called as anonymity. So what is privacy? So as a individual user, any user wants that he should have some control upon their personal information. The goal of individual is their personal information should be collected by a service provider as minimum as possible. Um, what is the personal information? Like our name, our date of birth, our mobile number, our email ID, all these personal information, it should be collected from the point of user, that these personal information should be collected as minimum as possible. But on the opposite side, if you notice the perspective of a data fiduciary, notice the perspective of an internet service provider, then service provider wants to collect as much data as possible. He uh, he wants to collect the maximum data because the data is the data has a lot of monetary benefit for the service provider. So the privacy is a very debatable things. Like after the introduction of latest bill like our GDPR proposed by European Union, or the proposed bill of Indian Personal Data Protection Bill, so everyone is somewhere considering that there should be maximum level of privacy for individuals when they are visiting over the internet. So we can define privacy as a data privacy or user privacy. Data privacy in the context that user wants to to uh, to to have a control over their personal data. And this is referred as a user privacy when we talk about in the perspective of a user. The second property is anonymity. Anonymity means whether individual can get a right that he should visit the internet without disclosing their identity. Means their name should not be known to the internet whenever he visiting, whenever he surfing to the internet. What is the identity when we are surfing over the internet? So here identity means our IP address should not be revealed to the anyone. So what is the meaning of anonymity? Means the user wants to hide their IP address from the internet. So as defined in the second point, the anonymity on the internet applies to any interaction a user has on the internet that protect his or her identity from being shared with another user or with a third party. So we are going to define anonymity in two parts. The first is user anonymity and the second is service anonymity. So user anonymity means the user wants to hide its identity from the internet. User wants to hide its IP address from the internet, while the service anonymity means the service provider wants to hide its identity from the internet. So can we achieve both or not? So we will discuss one by one. First, we will discuss what is the concept of user anonymity, and then we will discuss what is the concept of service anonymity. Before this, let us try to understand whether these two property has been missing or fulfilled in the current TCP/IP protocol communication. So as we know that our TCP/IP protocol is based upon IP address and port number. Whenever any sender wants to request some data from a service provider, then what it adds its source IP address, source port number, destination IP address, and destination port number. Along with this, it also adds some data, some request that it wants to send to the service provider. This request processed through different intermediary over the internet and will reaches to the service provider. That let's suppose the service provider is a web server. So based upon the request, the service provider can reply back to the user. During the reply, it adds their IP address, their port number, and the user's IP address and user's port number, and the reply message. So using the TCP/IP protocol, the entire communication take place over the internet. So if you look at this communication, so whoever coming in between the path of sender and receiver, like all the intermediary nodes, they know that which user, which two IP address are performing the communication. So intermediary note that this is the sender's IP address and this is the receiver's IP address. As well as the service provider also knows that this is the IP address of user who is performing this request. So our identity is discloses to everyone. Now, whether privacy has been preserved, we know that in order to track about the behavior of a user, service provider places a lot of personal information at user's side, like they places cookies values, they places session values. So based upon those information, they can track our behavior, they can track our browsing pattern, or they can collect a lot of personal information from those trackable data. So somewhere our privacy is being breached and our anonymity is not being preserved in the TCP/IP protocol communication. So darknet was the darknet concept was proposed um, to achieve the both the property of privacy and the property of anonymity. So let us first try to understand what is the structure of this darknet, and later we will analyze whether such kind of network is really good for our system, or what kind of cyber attacks, or what kind of criminal activities that can be performed using this kind of network. So what is the darknet? So darknet is an overlay network within the internet that can only be accessed with specific software configuration or authorization, and often uses a unique customized communication protocol. So in a very layman term, this is a special kind of network which is created on the top of TCP/IP protocol. So it does not need to create any specific set of hardware. Upon the existing TCP/IP protocol, this kind of network can be created. And such a special network is known as an overlay network. The special network which is created on the top of TCP/IP protocol is known as an overlay network. And in order to access such a network, we will need a specific software, a specific software which uses a dedicated communication protocol in order to access that network. So this overlay network is simply referred as a darknet, and those websites which exist over the darknet, those is considered as a dark web. So how this network can be created? There are multiple ways using which such kind of network can be created. For example, the very much popular darknet is known as a Tor. Similarly, the other ways is like Freenet, I2P, John Denny. So there are multiple ways using which the dark web and darknet can be created. I am taking the example of the most popular one, that is known as a Tor. The full form of Tor is the onion router. Uh, with the onion router, this darknet can be established. So to understand the structure of this Tor network and how the communication takes place, I will discuss what are the important terms which are associated with this Tor network, and I will explain how this communication takes place. So let us first try to understand what is Tor browser. Tor browser. So first we will discuss the project, what is Tor project, then the browser, then what is onion router, then what is the concept of dark website, and what is the concept of dark web search engine. So the Tor project was started in 1990s. The goal of this project was, can a user achieve the maximum level of privacy and the entire set of anonymity over the internet? If you look at this the website of Tor project, so here the goal is, they have written that can anyone browse the internet freely by using by getting the complete freedom over online, and by getting strongest way of achieving the privacy. So based upon the idea of the concept of privacy and anonymity, the project has been started. Their goal was, we can transfer our data traffic in such a way that it can contain the maximum level of encryption and should passes the traffic using multiple nodes, so that nobody can track who is the sender and receiver they are talking. So to create such network, there are two concepts. One is the Tor browser, which work as a client side, and a lot of node which is known as a onion routers. So what is the Tor browser? It has been built up based upon modified Mozilla Firefox and consists of a Tor launcher. Using this Tor launcher, anybody can launch this browser and can uh, start getting service communicating over the darknet. So it does not contain any script. All the script is automatically blocked using this browser. And to perform the communication, it always uses HTTPS connection. Whenever this browser communicate, all the traffic is passes through a special network that is called as a Tor network. Whenever any session terminates, it deletes all the sensitive data such as our HTTPS information, our cookies information, our browsing history. So because of this deletion, the service provider cannot track who was the user which has been interacted previously. So because of this deletion, it provides the maximum level of privacy. And since the traffic of this browser passes through the onion routers, so because of this passing, it achieves the anonymity. This browser is also known as a onion proxy. Whenever we download this browser, it automatically download the list of a special server that is known as a distributed directory server. From this server, any Tor browser can download the list of updated routers, which is known as a onion router. So onion router are a special kind of node which are divided into three parts. One is entry node, another is exit node, and the other one is relay node. Each has different purpose. So the communication is established using these entry node, exit node, and relay node. So if any browser wants to establish a connection, so from those lists, it select one entry node, one exit node, and one relay node. Anybody can download this browser. It is available for Windows, it is available for Mac, Linux, and it is also available for Android mobiles. Now, what is onion routers? As I have told, these are a special node which passes the Tor traffic from one node to another node. So these are not a specific hardware. Any computer system which has a public IP address can become a onion router and can participate in the Tor network. So what it needs to do in order to become a router, any public system, any public computer has to install a special service that is known as a relay service. Upon installing a relay service, any router, any computer system can become a part of this darknet. Now, in order to register any computer system as a router, he has to send their basic information to the directory server. So for the registration purpose, it sends its ID information, its IP address, their bandwidth, and their exit policy to the directory server. Directory server register the newly created onion router inside their list. So whenever browser ask for the updated list of the router, so from that list they can know about what are the list of onion routers which are currently working. I've also told that based upon the service the router is providing, they can classify himself as an entry node, relay node, and exit node. So exit node are very special node. They allow which kind of service they are going to provide, whether they are going to provide a website service, whether they are going to provide TCP IP service, whether they are going to provide email service. So they can announce that which kind of service they are going to provide, so that whenever browser perform communication, they can select appropriate exit node in order to perform the communication. Now, let us quickly understand how this data is transferred from the browser to the service provider. So in order to transfer the data, it uses multiple cryptographic algorithm as well as multiple cryptographic key, like it uses identification key, um, onion key and sort key. So three different key are being used, and to perform different kind of encryption and decryption, it uses both symmetric encryption as well as public key encryption. And to exchange the key, it uses the concept of Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. So based upon these beautiful cryptographic operation, this entire communication is performed. I'm showing how the data is being transferred over the Tor network. So here, here the diagram is showing how user anonymity is being preserved and communication is taking place. So the service provider is known to everyone. Everyone knows that what is the identity of the service provider, but the user wants to hide its identity. So in order to establish such communication, first of all, the browser create a special network which is known as a overlay network. So to create overlay network, the browser creates a, a special path that is known as a circuit. So the circuit is created between the browser and with all the routers. So here, like you can see a circuit 1 is created between the browser 1 and the router 1. Similarly, a circuit 2 is created between the router 1 and router 2, and circuit 3 is created between router 2 and router 3. During the creation of circuit, it also share an encryption key, like the key K1 has been shared between the browser and router 1. The key K2 has been shared between router 2 and the browser. And similarly, the key K3 has been shared between router 3 and browser. So the browser has shared a distinct key with each router. So what is the meaning? What is the purpose of this key? It defines that whenever I will send any data, I will encrypt with this key value K1, K2, K3, and I will forward this data. And it also instructs that if anything is coming from circuit 1, you has to forward to circuit 2. Similarly, if router 1 is receiving anything from circuit 2, he will reply back to the circuit 1. So with the concept of this circuit, the communication path is established. Now, after establishment of the path, this the browser prepares a special data. To prepare special data, what it does, like I want to access, let's suppose facebook.com over port number 443, and I wanted to send some data to the Facebook, but I does not want to reveal my identity. So what the browser does, it encrypt this complete data by using multiple layer of encryption. First, this data will encrypted using the key value K3. Then the resultant data will encrypted using the key value K2. Then again the resultant value data will encrypted using the key value K1. So we are performing multiple layer of encryption using different keys. So the resultant encrypted data known as a ciphertext, this will uploaded to the communication path over circuit 1. When the router 1 receives some data, it knows that this data is encrypted using the key value K1. So he can easily decrypt this data and can see that this data is for the circuit 2. So immediately this data will forwarded to the circuit 2. Now circuit 2 receives a C2. C2 is encrypted using the key value K2. So he can easily decrypt it and can see that this data is for circuit 3 and can forward to the router 3. Router 3 when decrypted, it will see the actual data that something I has to forward to a service provider, which is facebook.com over the 443. So when Facebook or when the service provider receives this request, it will know that router 3 wants to perform a communication with with this service provider. So if anybody is sitting between sender 1 and router 1, it cannot know who is the actual sender performing the communication. Similarly, if anyone is sitting between router 1 and router 2, they cannot know who is performing the communication. And if anyone who is sitting between router 3 and the service provider, they will get to know that the router 3 and the service provider is performing the communication. But no party in entire communication can know who is the actual sender who has sent this request. Now, it's entirely depend upon service provider whether it wants to reply back or not. So since this service provider is not implementing any anonymity, so it will reply automatically as a normal response. When this response uh, reaches to the router 3, let's suppose a reply R has been prepared by the service provider and has sent to the router 3. Now router 3 will prepare a special will perform a special task that whatever it is receiving from the as a response, it will encrypt again using the key value k3. Then again it knows that this response is for the circuit 3, so it will upload this data to the circuit 3. Now router 2 when receives anything from circuit 3, it knows that something we have to reply back to the circuit 2. So before preparing a reply, it again perform the encryption and encrypt the received data using the key value k2. The same thing is forwarded to the k1, and again the encryption will apply by the router 1. So each router, whenever receiving the response, they are again performing the encryption using their own key which has been shared with the browser. Now when browser receives this message, it knows that I am receiving something which has been encrypted using different key. So first of all, it apply the decryption using the key value k3, then it apply decryption using the key value k2, then it apply decryption using the key value k1. And after performing 3 layer of decryption, the browser can obtain the original data which has been sent by the service provider. If you observe the communication, the request and response message, then you will get to know that here uh, the browser is performing multiple layer of encryption and decryption. This multiple layer of encryption and decryption looks like different layer of onion. That's why this kind of encryption is known as onion encryption, and these routers or node which are performing encryption and decryption is known as a onion router and onion proxy. Uh, so this was the structure, that how darknet is being created and why we cannot trace any user over this network. This is because of multiple layer of encryption and decryption and hiding of its user's IP address. So because of such a setting, anyone can hide its IP address over the internet. Uh, now can a service provider also can hide its IP address, or can we say that a service provider can provide a service anonymously? So if a service provider is hiding their identity, it is known as a anonymized service, or it is also known as a hidden service, or it is also known as a dark website. So all those websites which are hiding its identity is known as a dark website. So dark website is usually has a suffix that is known as a .onion, For example, in the red color, I have mentioned a dot onion website, that is some random characters and having a suffix dot onion. So whenever anybody wants to publish want to publish its dot onion website, so they try to use different media channels like Pastebin, Twitter, or different social media platform, and they announced about newly created uh, dark websites. From those websites, anyone can get to know about dot onion websites, and they start visiting those websites. In order to visit those websites again, we will require a special software that is called as a Tor browser. So here, service provider hides its identity in such a way that nobody can trace about their original identity, their original IP address. So, so let us understand how this onion service is being provided. So if anybody wants to create a onion website, what it does, first of all, he creates a special address using their own public key and private key. Based upon public key and private key, anybody can create its dot onion website. Now, after creation of this website, the service provider would like to register this website at some places. So in order to register these website, um, he select 3 random IP addresses which are controlled by this service provider. And you can also think that these are the malicious IP addresses which are working, which are providing service in the behalf of this service provider. So these 3 IP address as well as these onion address is the service provider contact to the directory server, and they register these IP address and onion website to the directory server. So if anybody wants to find out the IP address of a .onion website, the browser can immediately contact to the directory server, and they can find out what is the list of IP addresses which are being used by this service provider. So we can understand it by a diagram. Like here, there is a hidden server who wants to provide a service. Now, this service provider, um, um, in the first step, it is selecting an IPO. IPO is a public system which has a public IP address, and we may think that this IP address is controlled by this service provider. After selecting this IPO, in the second step, this hidden service provider register himself to the directory server and to the hidden service directory. Now, in the third step, if any user wants to access this onion website, so first of all, he has to find out what is the IP address which is associated with this onion website. So he contacted to the hidden service directory, and this service directory provide the mapping of domain name to the IP to the Tor browser. Now browser knows that to which IPO it has to communicate. After getting this mapping, he does some additional task, like he select a special node which is working as a onion router. This node is known as a RPO point, which has been shown in the diagram as a point number 4. So this RPO is known as a rendezvous point. This RP node is rendezvous point. So what browser does, this browser send a special variable, a random number R to the RPO point, and instruct that if anybody send a reply and this reply is containing a random number R, then immediately forward to me. So the RPO has a special task that Whenever he receives a reply containing a random number R, he will immediately forward this reply to the node who has installed this random number R value with them. Now, in the fifth step, what browser does, he send a request message that I want to access a onion website, and this request is sent to the IPO. IPO knows that IPO is in the control of the service provider. So whenever IPO receives any request, he will immediately forward to the hidden server. Now, if you observe this path, point number 5 path, then in order to access IPO node, we have to traverse a Tor network, then we can reach to the IPO node. Now, from IPO to the hidden server, again a Tor network has been created by the IPO node. So if anybody is tracking the traffic, then they can track the traffic either between browser to the IPO, or they can track the IPO to the service provider. Since at the both end the traffic is encrypted, so nobody can link that whether IPO has really forwarded this request or not, because the traffic forwarded from IPO is again encrypted. Now the server when receives the reply, then only server knows that it is receiving a request which is coming from IPO. IPO is using a Tor network. It means that IPO is also achieving the user anonymity. So nobody can track IPO, as well as nobody can track here the service provider. Again, during the reply, it completely depend upon service provider whether it wants to reply back or not. If it wants to reply back, then it creates a different path. This path is shown as a 0.6 in the figure. Now, from this path, it will send this reply to the rendezvous point, RPO. And during the reply will contain the random value R. So from R, the RPO will know that to whom he has to forward this reply. So RPO will forward this reply again via Tor network. So all the public node, either it is IPO, either it is RPO, either it is a service provider, either it is a browser, everyone is using Tor network. That's why every node in this network is hiding its identity and achieving the anonymity. Because of such complex structure, it is nearly impossible that anybody can know about the identity of the dark web. So this was the concept of how the user anonymity is achieved using the darknet, and how service anonymity is achieved using this darknet. Now, the question comes in our mind whether such kind of services are really good or not. If this is good, then why? What are the reason? What are the good points? What are the good motivation for which such idea have been proposed? And if it is not good, then what is the reason? What is the problem that is being created using this dark web? And why as a government department, why as a government agency, why we really need to worry about dark web? So if you look at motivation, if you look at positive side of this darknet, then few points you can get easily from this the mission which has been written over the Tor project, like to advance human rights and freedom by creating and deploying free and open source anonymity and privacy technology, supporting their unrestricted availability and use, and further for scientific and popular understanding. So So the main motivation due to which such idea has been proposed, that there are a lot of person who sometimes wants to perform the communication, but at that time they does not want to reveal their identity. For example, if anybody is accessing some sensitive topics or website, and such topics are if anybody observe this such kind of communication, then a bad impact can be created on the visitors. So to access those websites, uh, sometimes we wants to hide our identity, or as a cyber security researcher, sometimes we want to access those content which have been blocked from our territory. Like there are some apps which has been blocked, or there are some websites which has been blocked, and for good purposes we wanted to access those contents. So Tor is a one way using which anybody can access some blocked content from their territory. Or there is any journalist who wanted to post some local news, or who wants to write some different viewpoint, and does not want to disclose their identity. So to write such kind of content, it may possible that those people does not want to reveal their identity in order to prevent himself from law enforcement agencies. Or there are some human rights beings who want to disclose something without revealing their identity. Or some military uses, law enforcement officers, they want to search something, they want to communicate something without disclosing their identity. So these are the good purposes which have been defined by the Tor community, that to access such kind of content, to access, to visit, to communicate such kind of information, we require a special kind of network where any user can hide their identity and can perform the communication anonymously. So this was the good reason. But as we know that if something is created for a good reason, then there are lot of bad impact too, based upon the architecture. So many of the cyber attackers, many of the cyber threats creators, many of the cyber criminal started using this idea, and they are using it for multiple bad purposes, multiple criminal activities. And if you observe that, um, instead of a good purposes, most of the time this dark web is being used only for the bad purposes, for criminal activities. um, let us try to understand how we can be infected from the attacks which are originated from the dark web. For example, let us assume that you are an individual, and we have to think that as an individual whether we can be infected, we can be affected from the dark web or not. So mostly we think that as an individual we cannot be affected from the dark web, but it is not true. If Let me take an example. Like if you are an individual, you are a female candidate, and you are keeping your personal photos and personal videos over your desktop, over your mobile, and any of your friends has some any of your friend has fight with you. So if he has a bad intention, then there is a chance that based upon your information, um, he can disturb you. For example, he can upload your personal photos and personal videos using this darknet, and post over the social media, or post over different websites. So for for an individual, for the victim, if something which is personal to the user, if something get uploaded to the website, something which gets uploaded to the dark web, so because of such things, she can be mentally harassed, she can come into mental trauma, or she can be mentally disturbed. So because of a simple activity, the the cyber criminal which has a bad intention can affect to individual. And we know that to catch the service provider, to catch the user who is using this darknet, it is really difficult to find out those people. So once our personal data has been uploaded to the dark web or to the websites which is not in our control, then uh, how much criminal offense this will be. So there is another example, like um, um, anybody is your enemy, and he takes your personal photos and personal videos, and 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 send you an email using the darknet and ask that if you does not pay the ransom, then these photos and videos will be revealed to the your family member. So because of in order to avoid from family member, sometimes the victim can pay ransomware to the uh, to the to the criminal. So there are lot of way using which any cyber criminal can affect to individuals by using dark web as a weapon. Now, uh, similarly for organization, most of the organization thinks that they cannot be affected from the dark web, but this is not true. We know that sometimes attackers try to hide their identity and launch the attack, like whether it is a state sponsored attack, it is a targeted attack. So nowadays it is very common that attackers are launching attack using the dark web and hiding their identity. They are launching malware attack, they are launching DDoS attack, botnet attack, even they are launching phishing attacks. Similarly, they are also selling or purchasing different kind of keylogger, trojans, malware, and exploit kits over the darknet. Over the darknet, they are the criminals are performing even uh, like uh, support services, like ransomware attacks, assassinations. So these are different kind of attacks which are being originated from the darknet. There is one more popular attacks which is very common nowadays, that is known as a data breach. If you have seen the latest media report, the latest news, then you will come to know that there are a lot of data breaches happening around the world. And what attacker does, they try to use the medium of darknet and upload the steal content, the breach content over the darknet. Since we know that once the data is uploaded over the darknet, it is really impossible for the organization to recover those data. So every organization need to think that how such kind of data breaches, such kind of attacks can be prevented from the uh, which are originated from the darknet. Uh, so each organization need to develop some preventive measures. Each organization need to develop some reactive measures so that the attacks can be prevented. I'm more focusing on data breach because we know that as an organization, if I am storing any sensitive personal data, for example, our users Aadhaar card information, users PAN card information, or users banking information. So once if such kind of data breach has been happened, then really these data are very dangerous in the hand of cyber criminals. There is dark web is also a challenge for law enforcement agencies, for the government, because as a government, as a law enforcement agencies, uh, um, they are observing that a lot of criminal activity that is continuously increasing from the dark net. There are a lot of cryptocurrency exchange that is nowadays very popular. There are a lot of anti-national content that is either being hosted uh, using the dark web or being shared using this dark net. There are a lot of financial fraud, cyber terrorism. There are a lot of drugs, porn activities. So all these criminal activity that is continuously being mm, performed using this darknet. So this is a really very worrying situation for every country and for every law enforcement agencies, that how one can identify those criminal which are performing this criminal activities using this dark web. So 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 since this is a worrying situation, so which kind of cyber security practices we can implement? First of all, every organization needs to think that their cyber security design should be in such a way that they can prevent themselves from the attacks which are originated from the dark web. Why this is important? Because we know that it is really difficult to de-anonymize the dark web and catching dark web criminals which are hiding themselves behind this darknet. There are a lot of research-based tools like social media analysis, Bitcoin flow analysis, AMLET procedure, market scraping. So there are some tools which sometimes help in order to find out the accused, but since anonymization is done at a very strong level, so these ideas are not really working very efficiently. And many of the organizations think that so the dark web or darknet is a legal issue, so they should not worry about this dark web. But it is not true. Every organization needs to start thinking about that how they can save their data, how they can save their systems from being affected from the dark web. So what they can do? First of all, within the organization, they should provide an awareness that that how what is the concept of dark web, what are the list of potential cyber threats that is possible because of this darknet. So this kind of cyber awareness they can create within their organization, so that either at individual level or either at organization level, everybody can aware that these are the list of potential threat which are possible from the dark web, and we should follow these cyber security measures in order to prevent such attacks. For example, as an individual, one may think that we should not keep our personal photos, our personal content in our mobile, so that our any person which has a malicious intention can collect this data and can use for malicious purpose. So I am focusing this point multiple times because nowadays the trend of malicious persons to target to target their relatives, to target their friends, and asking ransom because of this personal data is nowadays very common. From the perspective of organization, they can implement best cyber security practices to prevent attacks which are originating from the dark web. This becomes more important if you are a critical resources, if you have a sensitive personal data, or if you have a critical infrastructure, if you are a government organization, then to design your network from the point of a dark web becomes more essential. You can also deploy different type of monitoring tools in order to detect activity which is originated from the dark web. What are the others preventive measures you can follow? Since we know that the real purpose of darknet was good, but nowadays criminals are using it only for malicious purposes. So as an organization policy, you should not allow any of your users to install the Tor network. As the government guidelines, our NIC guidelines, the Tor is completely banned within our government departments. As a perimeter level, you can also deploy some different kind of blocking. Like if you know that these are the set of entry node, these are the set of exit node, these are the set of directory server. So you can block those node at your perimeter level. If you are a service provider, you are running a website, then you can block all those requests which are coming from a Tor browser. Since our browser knows that from which since our website knows that from which browser this request is coming, so they can take appropriate measures in order to not to responding the request which is coming from a Tor browser. You can also block those websites which are using self-signed digital certificate. As I told earlier that to communicate, this Tor browser uses HTTPS connection. So to establish HTTPS connection, they uses a self-signed certificate. So as a system level, all those websites which are using self-signed digital certificate, those can be blocked. So these are the preventive measures that anybody can follow and can take appropriate measures for preventing himself from the attacks which are originated from the dark web. I have also covered the example of a data breach, like how we can secure our data so that it cannot be uploaded to the dark web. We know that cyber criminals are targeting our financial institutions, healthcare sectors, e-commerce, government sectors, and they are trying to steal our personal information. They are trying to steal our sensitive personal information, and they are uploading over the dark web. They are interested in personal information like our email, our mobile number, our medical reports, our credit card information, debit card information. So all these informations are continuously collected by the cyber criminals, and they are uploading over the darknet. Another important pattern which have been observed that sometimes the attack has been performed from the darknet and they steal all our data. After stealing the data, they install a ransomware over our public system. After installing ransomware, since you does not have any backup of your data, so ultimately somewhere the organization would like to bring back those data, and the cyber criminal gives you warning that if you does not pay ransomware, then they can disclose this data over the public domain. So data breach is very much important that organizations should plan their cybersecurity standard in such a way that such kind of data breach can be prevented, and they can prevent them their data being uploaded from over the dark web. Now, what are the common causes of data breach? As we know that there are a lot of very basic causes due to which data breach can be happened. For example, if your organization has a security misconfiguration, like you have configured your software or hardware poorly, you have given incorrect file permission, or you have carelessly uploaded something into a public folder, you have directory listing vulnerability. So these are common causes due to which data breach can be happened and your data can be uploaded to the dark web. You have application vulnerability, like any weakness or flaw in the system. You have a weak default or stolen credentials. You have a poorly configured VPN network, or you have a poorly configured work from home system. So these are the uh, vulnerabilities due to which data breach can happen. So it's the organization responsibility that first of all they should follow the proactive measures so that such data breach cannot be happened. If it even happens, then organization should be aware that what kind of measures that they can follow in order to uh, minimize the impact of a data breach. For example, most of organization does not have a contact point where anybody can contact and report that a data breach is appearing over the public domain. So you need to define a contact point, uh, that is known as a chief information security officer, so that if anybody noticing any data breach, that can be they can immediately contact to your organization and appropriate measures can be taken. And if the organization got to know about the data breach, they can immediately disconnect the compromised system, and uh, and and can start performing the analysis. They should also take the measures that they should not turn off those devices which have been compromised, because sometimes turning off the devices may lead to lose some crucial evidences. You can ensure that all the credential which had been stolen, uh, either it is personal information, either it is sensitive personal information, or it is a password, those should be those should be reset. Like if your password has been stolen, then you can provide an advisory that all user can reset their password. So so the, so anybody can follow the basic measures to to whenever data breach is happening within the organization. Similarly, they can also follow some preventive measures, like they can classify what are their personal data and how they should store within their systems, what are their sensitive personal data and how they should handle within their organization. They can also deploy some monitoring and access control level tool, so that the appropriate system and appropriate person can access those data. Uh, in the prevention of data breach, access control is very, very, very important, because nobody should have access of every kind of data within their organization. The organization should also need to think to implement a strong security policies, like they can enforce a strong access control, they can enforce a strong password management system, or even they can use multi-factor authentication. Similarly, if any organization is using cloud services, nowadays data breach is very common using the cloud services, and cyber criminals are continuously uploading the data, um, uh, by collecting the data from cloud services and uploading over the dark web. So any organization can follow the appropriate security practices, which are time to time advised by cloud service provider. Like if you're using Amazon AWS, then you can follow those cyber security practices. If you're using Microsoft Azure, then follow the appropriate security practices. And time to time, everybody, the key people within the organization who is responsible for this cyber security, they should continuously evaluate that is there anything which is publicly available, like whether our encryption key is publicly available or not, whether any data is publicly available or not. So on a regular interval, they can evaluate themselves and can identify um, whether any personal data is being leaked or not using these cloud services. It has been observed that there are a lot of MongoDB instances which are publicly available. There are a lot of AWS instances which are publicly available and configured with the poor passwords. The organization can also make an awareness program between their users, between their cybersecurity team, that how data breach can be prevented within their organization. It is important because we know that for any organization, the data is really matters. The data is really important. And if you are a government organization and government department, then the importance of this data becomes more important. In the last thing is everyone becomes confused then when we should use this darknet or when we should not. So if you are performing an identity based communication, for example, I am accessing a facebook.com, and facebook.com we cannot access without providing our identity, because there we has to put our mobile number, our email ID or Facebook account ID. So such a kind of communication is known as identity based communication, where user where user put some identity before accessing some services. So if you are using an identity based communication, so using Tor, using darknet does not have any meaning. But if you wanted to achieve the anonymity without affecting anyone, then then for such purposes darknet can be used. But if your intention is bad, if your intention is malicious, so strongly it is advisable that this darknet should not be used. Even many of the government agencies, many of the law enforcement agencies are continuously developing their policy that how whether this darknet should be used within their territory or not. For example, if you take the example of China, then China completely ban this Tor network within their territory. From the perspective of India, for Indian territory, um, uh, as a government department, it is completely banned to use such darknet. But for other kind of activities, uh, the process is still ongoing, that what kind of policy can be enforced in order to avoid, in order to protect cyber criminal activities which are generated from this dark web. In the last, many people get confused that what is the difference between this darknet and VPN. So in a very layman term, the VPN is used to provide you the privacy. Our entire traffic which is generated from VPN client, that goes to the VPN server, and the VPN server communicate in the behalf of us. While in the darknet, the Tor browser, the main goal of this darknet is to provide anonymity. The traffic is forwarded uh, through different onion routers, and anybody who is coming between this traffic cannot know the identity of the users. So the purpose of Tor, the purpose of darknet is to provide the anonymity, while the purpose of VPN is to provide the privacy. So this was all from my side. For data breach advisories, you can follow the certain advisory which has been published at a certain website, and one can follow the security best security practices that has been advised for the data breach. You can also follow some URLs and can know in more detail about this Tor project and about this darknet. So this was all from my side. If anybody has any query, then they can ask. You can also reach at me at the given ID and at LinkedIn channel. This was all from my side. So anybody has any